Welcome to the Houndsman XP podcast, everybody. It's another week of news and reviews, and I know Steve has got plenty of news from Florida. I can tell you that I hope our rain is over because I'm way behind on my work. However, it's allowed me to do a lot more on the podcasting side of it. Steve, how are you today?
Well, the weather report from Florida is rain every day. It's that rainy season. That's one thing you can depend on in Florida. You're going to get rain every afternoon at this time of year. What I didn't count on was it raining every day during the winter time when I was trying to train that pup. And I'm out there and I'm thinking instead of a treeing walker, maybe I should have thought about a lab.
I saw on Marketplace yesterday, a local guy had a funny post on there. It said, one Ziploc baggie of dry dirt, $10. You know, because it's such a rare thing right now to have dry dirt that they're even selling it on Facebook Marketplace. So that's kind of funny.
Well, that's a new twist. You know, I heard. When I talked to Kent Spencer of the Riverbend flag fame a few weeks ago, he talked about where he grew up, and he said we had to go down the road to get enough dirt to plant the corn. So maybe that
I remember
goes
you
along.
saying, yeah, I remember you saying something about that.
Oh yeah. But it's all good. It's the sun comes up, the sun goes down, and each day we get is a gift. So
that's right.
I'm happy with that for sure.
I'm sure that the guys in the Southwest would like to have some of our rain. There's no doubt about that.
Always out that way for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to fly this thing, just me and you today, and talk about the podcast. We want to talk some dog stuff today. But one of the things that we want to talk, we kind of want to do a recap of some of the things we've already done. I'll just start out right there. You know, last week we had Freedom Hunters on. Anthony Pace and Bud were both on the podcast and gave us a rundown of what the Freedom Hunters organization is all about. And, man, I am excited about having them on our team or partnering with them for such a great cause. And people are maybe wondering why we're selling merchandise. You know, we've got a great hunter, a great opportunity here to do the right thing, and keep pushing towards that.
Well, I agree, Chris. You know, we can never repay the debt we owe as a nation to our veterans and those that some gave some and some gave all. And for those who gave some and thank God are still with us, it's just great to be able to do these hunts and to be able to be a part of it. And even for those Gold Star families who paid the supreme sacrifice, they can be involved in Freedom Hunters as well. So, yeah, that was a great visit we had with Anthony and Bud, and it fired me up for sure to do more than I'm doing now for veterans.
I think our goal's always been to I don't think we're going to get rich selling T-shirts, even with the partnership with W Hound Supply, but it certainly gives us some money to do some quality events and put it back into Houndsman. And one of the other things we're looking forward to and want to encourage all our listeners, we posted it on our Facebook page a couple times, and I put it on Instagram as well, but that benefit for Leon Brown of Clark Fork Outfitters. Leon was in a terrible car crash and ended up with a broken neck out of that, and outfitting is his business, and he's got a family. And I kind of watched this thing and picked it up on social media, but houndsmen out there are coming together to support Leon, so that says a lot about his character. I don't know him personally, but I've chatted with him a few times back and forth, and seems like a super great guy. And Clay Newcomb of Bear Hunting Magazine has actually went out there and has gone out there and lion hunted with Leon, and had a great great hunt with him. Recorded the whole thing on his Bear Horizons video on YouTube, so I'd encourage everybody to take a look at that. Put a face with this name, but Bear Horizons is also a great place to pick up some tech tips and just pure entertainment. They're doing a good job there. But so Leon, I know I'm rambling on here. I'm getting text messages and all kinds of stuff, but Leon needs our support, and even if you can't be there for the benefit, you can send items there. You can contact us, and maybe we can put his information in our show notes. Steve, is that possible?
Sure, we can do that, Chris. You know, I don't know Leon personally, but I can certainly think about a man that, you know, loves the outdoors, makes his living for his family in the outdoors, and then to have that taken away suddenly would be devastating. And I know he doesn't want our sympathy, but we certainly can show that we do care about him and his family by participating in this benefit. And I send kudos out to those that are hosting this thing. You know, this hound community, and this was brought up, I think, when we talked to Anthony and Bud, are very, very giving. When someone is down or someone needs help, they step up. And that's what we're looking forward to the Houndsman to do in the case of Leon.
I'll bring up one of our common friends, our mutual friends. You remember Jeff Coons and Redwood Plots? What's his slogan for Redwood Plots?
People helping people.
Yeah, people helping people. I always, you gotta know Jeff to understand that, because he really is a guy that is pretty inclusive in that sort of thing. So when we put this on Facebook and Instagram, that's one of the things we said was Houndsman helping Houndsman. We got a big enough community here that's been blessed in so many ways. So if you can send out, even if you can't go there and eat, you can send out the price of the meal, then it will definitely be beneficial for Leon and his family.
Yeah, so they can go to the website. Is that what I'm hearing, Chris? And contribute. How is that set up?
They've kind of been keeping his contact information low key. I did not see anything on the flyer itself. I do have his personal address where donations can be sent. That's where I was told to send them, and we can definitely put that in the show notes sooner rather than later. I put it out there on Instagram and Facebook to contact me, just so I wasn't blasting his personal information all over the Facebook world.
Right. Well, as you know, we're working on a new website now, and I imagine it's going to be up real soon. And there's going to be an easier way for people to contact us. We want to get the feedback from everybody. We're so interested in comments, good, bad, or indifferent, and we're going to have individual mailboxes that they can do that. It'll make it easier than using our personal boxes, and that'll all be posted on Facebook on the Houndsman XP podcast page there, so that everybody can get in contact with us. If they have questions about things like this and all, you know, it'll make it much easier for our listeners to reach us. And those boxes are going to be simply cpowell@houndsmanxp.com and sfielder@houndsmanxp.com. So that'll be an easy way for our listeners to get in touch with us.
Yeah, everybody can send their criticisms of me to you.
That's right. That's right. We'll just have a barbecue, you know. We'll just roast you to a crispy turn.
I'm used to it. 28 years in law enforcement, I'm pretty used to it, so I can handle it.
All right.
Well, let's kind of run down some of the recap on some of our episodes. I really have enjoyed. We haven't been getting a lot of feedback, but the feedback I'm getting has been very good. Some of our highlight episodes, of course, was our good friend Mike Thorman, man, that guy was a hoot to talk to on the phone. I could talk to him. I need to go to that banquet and go up there to that wild Polish wedding with guns. See what that's all about.
Yeah, that's the Michigan Hunting Dog Federation banquet, and it is a good time, that's for sure. And speaking of banquets, I just accepted an invitation by my good friends Joe and Nancy Hudson, who have the UP, which stands for Upper Peninsula Bear Houndsman Association up at Escanaba, and they have their big blowout on the last weekend of February. So I'll be there speaking to the group and having a great time. And anybody that wants a good time for a good cause is look at those banquets that they have in Michigan and Wisconsin each winter. Man, they are really what it would almost be worth someone's time to go just take a vacation. Realize wintertime in Michigan's not tourism season, but if they go up there and just attend the Michigan Bear Hunters convention there in Gaylord at the Treetops Resort, and go to the Michigan Hunting Dog Federation meeting over in the Thumb over there around Lapeer, I believe it is, and then go up to Escanaba for the UP Bear Houndsman banquet. Man, that would you'd probably have to take a sack of money because you'd want to play all the raffles and all that, but you could also come home with a truckload of guns if you're lucky.
Yeah, and according to Mike with and Buddy, the amount of beer they drink, you might want to line up an Uber too.
That's right, for sure. Well, that's one thing I noticed. The hunters up north, they hunt hard, but when the day's over, there's usually a community bar around there somewhere. But yeah, it's all part of the culture.
Well, it's definitely something that people need to see, just if for no other reason, so they know how to what can be done and what's possible to be done for a state organization to build an organization and also keep the lights on and be effective as a hound organization. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that myself.
Well, the point is these people work tremendously hard on behalf of the dog hunters and all dog owners, really, all year long. And so they get that opportunity once a year to get together for a terrific meal. There's always a good group of speakers. The raffles are a lot of fun. It's a big party for sure, but it's definitely a time to reflect on what they do. And you know, Mike mentioned there that they raised $50,000 last year at their banquet. So
isn't that crazy?
That money, it is, and it goes into a war chest to fight these battles when they come up. So it's all good.
Yeah. Speaking of people that stay in the fight, you know, we're listed on the Join the Fight page on Hunting Supply's website, and we've been getting a lot of feedback about W and the customer service that they're providing. I don't even know how go ahead.
Well, it's amazing, really. I know when we announced the photo contest that we ran on Facebook, that, you know, people were responding and saying, I ordered the T-shirt and I couldn't believe how quickly it got here and what great quality it is and how it fits and all. And so, yeah, they've got the customer service thing down. There's no doubt about it.
I ordered something not too long ago and I ordered a bark collar and it was in my mailbox. I couldn't even believe it was here. I mean, it wasn't any more than 2 days that I had that bark collar that I'd ordered from them. I got an idea. Why don't we give W a call and see if they can release any trade secrets about how they're getting that customer service taken care of. You want to try that?
You mean you got a phone line that'll reach all the way from Bear Branch, Indiana, out to Washington State? Wow. This technology's amazing. You know it?
We've definitely had our battles with technology. Yep. Let me see if I can get their number up. and get somebody out there. They ambushed me on Facebook Live a couple weeks ago, so this is going to be a little payback right here anyway.
Paybacks.
Yeah. So let me see if I can get them on the line.
One ringy dingy, two ringy dingies.
Yeah. Calling their toll-free line here. When you dial in on Skype, it takes a second to get all this. You got to do it with your cursor and your mouse. Okay, we should be ready to roll here. Still there, Steve? I didn't dump you, did I?
I am. It's very quiet down here in Florida.
W Hunting Supply. This is Charlie. How can I help you?
Hey, Charlie, this is Chris Powell with Houndsman XP. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, is Jason and Jess available?
Yeah, let me get you over to them.
We're going to ambush them on a podcast here.
All right, sounds good. 1 second.
All right.
Got 6 bucks, that's enough for beer. Now we need someone to do fine.
I'm digging the music.
Yeah, no doubt.
He ain't never got no money, but he drinks the most of beer.
W, this is Jason.
Jason, Chris Powell with Houndsman XP. You got Steve and I on the line, and we're ambushing you, just like you did with me on Facebook Live a couple weeks ago. So,
Payback.
Yeah, you are live on the Houndsman XP podcast, and we were just having, yeah. So,
good morning, Jason. Good to hear.
Hey, morning, Steve.
Yeah,
nice to be on with you.
You bet.
I never got a chance to actually meet you in person when we were at Oaks. I could never slip away long enough to come down and say hi.
Yeah, well, we're going to do that this year, hopefully.
You bet.
Yeah, all right.
Is Jess available to get on the line too, Jason?
You know, let me see if I can grab her real quick if you guys
Okay.
are ready for some really cool on-hold music.
Yeah, we're just digging it.
All right, let me get her in here for you.
All right.
Got 6 bucks, that's enough for beer. Now we
Who is that? I don't recognize the artist.
It's not Merle Haggard, and it's not Waylon Jennings. That's all I know.
That's right.
All right, we should have her. You there, Jess?
I am.
All right. Like I was telling Jason, Jess, it's ambush. It's payback time where I get to ambush. Yeah, this is payback for putting me on Facebook Live the other day. So Buddy sets it up, and we all pay.
Well, I guess that works.
Hi, Jess. This is Steve Fielder here. It's good to hear your voice.
Hi. Yeah, you too.
So we were just we were having a discussion about customer service at W Hunting Supply and talking about the fact that it seems like you guys are able to go into a time warp and deliver stuff almost before it gets through in the internet. So how are you guys making that happen?
You know, we do have a really good relationship with our postal service here, but you know, with going priority mail, typically anywhere in the U.S. is going to be a 2 to 3 day ship, and we do everything that in our power to be able to ship. Like, we don't like to leave here unless our orders are at 0. So it could be like the end of the day, and we're just jamming those orders out to make sure that we hit 0 to get everybody's out. And then we have a pickup that comes, the postal service comes, roughly mid-afternoon, and then anything that is here afterwards, we actually take to the post office to make sure it gets on the truck to get out that day.
Yeah, nice.
And I
nice.
think another big advantage we have is with us being on the West Coast, we're behind you, a lot of you guys out on the East Coast on time zones. So half the time you guys order by supper, and we've still got time to get that order out that same day. And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that I hadn't thought about that, but that's awesome. But I know, we're getting comments in social media from people since we announced our partnership, and people are very impressed with the quality of the items, first of all, and the great service. So kudos to you guys for sure.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I know that we've talked about this in the past, Jason, but are you up for coming on the podcast on somewhat of a regular basis to discuss some new tech stuff coming out by Garmin and some of the other tracking systems, things like that?
Oh, you bet. I mean, our thing is, we really want our customers to be informed, so any opportunity we have to answer any questions or give guys a jump start, we're happy to do it.
Good deal.
Jason, I just bought a new computer with Windows 10.
Here we go.
And I'm trying to build a website on it and learn the new operating system at the same time. Do you do those kind of things?
No, we've got a guy for that.
You better watch yourself, Jason. You're going to get roped into it.
I know. I'm still a houndsman, guys. Just remember that.
Well,
I fix
me
stuff with
too.
hammers and some smarts.
Yeah, nice.
That's for sure.
Well, I know you guys are working hard, and we're probably keeping you from getting those orders out the door. But we just want a little payback and have a little fun on the podcast today, and get you on the line. So look forward to having a little more in-depth conversation with you.
Well, same to you guys. We appreciate you calling.
And I have no idea how to hang up your call, but once Steve gets his thought out here, you guys just hang up on us, and I guess we'll be left to the two of us.
I can imagine.
We'll leave you to yourselves.
I imagine that Chris has jammed up your phone line now, and you won't be able to take any orders all day.
Oh my gosh!
So if you get any irate customers, we'll send them all to Chris Powell. Okay.
All right.
Let me see if I can pull this up and figure out how we're going to do this. Yeah, I can. Hey, I can just. I think I figured it out. All right.
It's called hang up.
Yeah, you hang up and I'll try to figure this end out.
All right. Well, it's good to talk to you guys.
Hey, you too,
guys.
Our
right,
pleasure. Have a great day.
All right, bye.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I think
All
I
right.
hung up on him. I hope I'm not. Buddy's going to charge us for lost time today.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, there's such great people out there. That's what I like about W Hunting Supply. I haven't known these people very long, but all through the organization, as you can see, are just friendly folks, helpful folks. And that means a lot to me.
Oh, me too. And they have been a lot of fun. That's kind of the cool thing about doing podcasts is you don't have to be so wrapped up in production stuff. You can kind of fly by the seat of your pants sometime and just pull some stuff off like that and have a good time.
It's a good thing where I'm concerned. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I'm just an old hound guy. I feel most comfortable when I'm sitting on the tailgate. Listening to the hounds. I'm old school. I still listen to my dogs.
Well, when you hunt those pot lickers you're hunting, they don't get far enough away where you can hear them, right?
Well, yeah. I tell you what. It's that hunting within hearing. It gets more important through the years. Believe me.
I bet Cruz is punching a hole in the dark up there in Pennsylvania now. Have you got any reports on him lately?
Well, things have been very busy up there. He's at summer camp with our good friend Randy Smith, and talking about mentioning Randy. Man, we got some great reviews on his podcast.
Yeah, we did.
Visit with. Yeah, people really enjoyed his comments about breeding and his philosophy and not so much. He didn't talk so much about the success as he did his devotion to those dogs and all. It was just a great podcast, I thought. But yeah, old Cruz is doing good. I get a video about once a week, and I don't know if those guys are making me feel good or not, but he's treeing those raccoons. every time they take him out. So I guess he's going to be a year old on the 27th actually, he was a year old on the 27th of June. And so, yeah, it's all good so far. Keep my fingers crossed.
Did you send him a cake up, or what did you do for his birthday?
No, but we had a little celebration here, Miss Ella and I. We talked about it a little bit, and we had a little time of remembering. You know, he left us something to remember him by. You know, I keep my dogs in the house, and he was great all the way up until about a week before he left, and he decided that one of Ella's wicker chairs out in the Florida room would be a good chew toy. So he left his mark before he left.
Something to remember him by, not to forget him.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was his advocate because the judge and jury was about to take action. But she said he's just a puppy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
just a baby.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Well, I'm hunting a couple of actually one of my dogs is in northeast Arizona now with Calvin Redhouse. He's going to run this little plop female on cats for the rest of the season. Then their bear season comes in August. So she is wild and crazy. I call her Kung Fu just because she fits the bill. I mean, she's wild. And she's out of the Houston Valley plot line, and you can talk it. I need to get that pedigree to you so you can look at it, because you know several of those dogs if you haven't, and you even have a few of your dogs that are in her pedigree. Yeah,
for sure. You know, back years ago, I got a mail from Mr. Barry Tarleton, who is the grandfather of Tracy Jones and the great-grandfather of Ben Jones. And that dog turned out probably to be my lifetime hound, a dog that I really enjoyed a lot, and that was the Bronco dog that I had. And he was out of Mr. Tarleton's female and Cascade Big Timber. And so then, but down the line there, the dogs that Ben and Tracy are hunting now have a lot of the old Roper dog that I had. So, yeah, it's interesting to look back. But he's back there 5 or 6 generations, you know, so it's a ways back.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far. I saw a set of papers when I picked her up. And Mike Colley's Trapper dog and Roper and some of those other dogs showed up. It was either in the sire or the dam side. I can't remember which one, but and I'm not sure how many generations those UKC papers went back. But man, I'll tell you what, this pup right here is not for the faint of heart. If I had to start, I'm telling you, she is. I think she hunts almost as hard as Ben does. I'm not kidding. That guy, that pup is a stem winder now. She can cover some ground, and she's not afraid to. She's caught a coyote on the ground. Actually, I was out walking her and had no intention, no expectation for her to take off. She just threw that nose up in the air. We were down in a valley, and the thermals were moving down. And, man, before I knew it, she was beelining up the hill and opened on a track and ran it across the hillside. And I heard him catch. And I've got a boxer that loves to just be outside with me. She's my bodyguard when I'm out hunting or cutting wood or whatever. So she always tags along too. And, of course, Roxy bails in when she hears Kung Fu open and takes off up there. And I heard him catch. And I thought, well, they've caught a coon on the ground. And I started hustling up, and big male coyote comes whipping out of the brush. And I've got a rifle with me. And couldn't get the rifle out of the pack and up on the coyote in time, and he disappears in the brush, and the dogs are dodging in and out of brush, and before I know it, there's 5 coyotes there because it's heavy den season right now, and they're packed up. And man, they were running for their lives and turning around and giving them some, and just so one of the coyotes stops in the trail, and I just whacked it and stacked it up, and there was no reverse in that plot pup. I mean, she was on that thing and had it in her mouth in no time. I couldn't believe it.
And how old is she now?
I have to look at her papers, but she's only about 6 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm afraid she's suicide crazy. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, the plots are gritty. There's no doubt about that. They're gamey, and the ones that my dad and I raised for years were that way. And but you gotta temper that a little bit with some intelligence, and they learn pretty quick what they can, where they can push the buttons and where they can't. But that's great. That's great.
She's crazy smart too, Steve. I mean, like if you do something one time, like I was doctoring her ears, she knows as soon as she sees me pick that. I only had to do it one time, and she sees me pick that bottle up, and then she's playing keep away at that point. But in the kennel, she barks a little more than I'd want her to, but she's just, she's 110 wired into 220, and but as far as she doesn't mess in her kennel, and she's sharp and she's bright.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of pup I love, and I think we all do. And I wish that I were at a point in life where I could get back to breeding that line of plots that my dad and I once did. That's when you have a breeding program that lasts over the years, and we had goals, that we wanted to achieve. Sometimes we hit them, sometimes we didn't. But there was a lot of satisfaction in breeding our own dogs and seeing them come about and introducing them into the pack and seeing them do well. And now where I find myself, I have to go out and pick and choose a puppy somewhere. It's just, as a breeder, I've never been a big breeder, certainly because of my work and all. But as a breeder, it's not the same when you have to go out and depend on somebody else's work. Thankfully, with this last pup that I got him from a breeder that has done his homework for sure, and produced a really nice pup that I can't wait till this fall, especially when we go to the White River and be able to hunt that pup a lot by himself out there and see what he can do. But yeah, these bright young pups are what make the world go round, for sure.
We had a question come in on our messenger. Let me see if I can find that on our messenger and see what we got here. I'll just kind of lay it out if I can't find it. I should have had this up. I apologize. Let me see if this is it right here. Okay. This is from Chase Rickard. You didn't tell me not to use your name, Chase, so I'm using it. My question for the Q&A is whether you're buying a dog or wanting to breed your dog, how far back in the pedigree would you recommend going back and doing research on the dogs for their traits?
Well, Chris, the question I would have is, I would think that would only be significant if it was a family of dogs. If you family breed the dogs, then you're stacking the genes, so to speak. You're breeding for type, you're breeding for common traits within the litters. Predictability, I used to say. And the dogs that we bred for many years, and then when we became not partners, but began to use some of the breeding stock of Everett Weems. These dogs we did a lot of grandfather, granddaughter, uncle, niece type crosses within that same family line. And the one thing that does is allows you to predict what those pups are going to act like. It's not going to tell you that they're all going to be great dogs and all, but you can, through family breeding, breed a particular type of dog. You know about what size they're going to be, what kind of hair they're going to have on them, what their feet are going to look like, their ear set, their mouths most of the time. You're going to know whether they're easily trained or are they soft dogs, so forth. Those kind of things through family breeding. And I think if it were a family bred dog, then I would think, for instance, we used to breed on a dog called Weems Plot John. Now, John produced a lot of good dogs. He produced the Weems Butch dog that was very popular with big game hunters, and he had several. Then he also produced a dog called Hogg's Little Joe, Swampland Joe, and a female named Bill's Bell. And all three of those dogs produced good dogs right on down the line. And then when you bred back to John's mother, Weems Plot Susie, was a littermate sister to a dog named Ursa's Rowdy Plot. And so those dogs, that whole family of dogs was strong, and they produced right on down the line for several generations, as long as you kept generally within that family of dogs. So anyway, they were strong enough. We talk about hybrid vigor, outcrossing to produce outstanding individuals, but that line of dogs right there was strong enough to carry their own weight down through generations. But if I just saw a dog back, let's say I'm a Walker man and I see Sackett Jr. back 5 or 6 generations, and that's the only time I see him, I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in that. Right.
Well, my advice to Chase is to do research on every dog you can find. Not only the dogs listed, but if you can, try to get information on the dog's litter mates. The old saying goes, you have a much better chance of getting a great dog out of a mediocre dog out of a great litter than you do a great dog out of a mediocre litter. So, if the dogs listed in that pedigree are just one-hit wonders, and they were the only ones that turned out, then your chances of reproducing that are much greater to reproduce mediocrity than it is to reproduce greatness.
Well, yeah, and I think Randy Smith brought this out as when he guested with us, that it's important for you to know the dogs in those pedigrees, not just to know the pedigree itself. A lot of guys have fallen into the trap over the years. They can spout pedigrees like a machine, but how much do they really know about the dogs that they're talking about? I did a column not long ago for American Cooner magazine about Dick Brothers out in now lives out in Nebraska, and
he's in Iowa, isn't he?
Iowa, yeah, and he hunts over across the line in Nebraska. But he talked about this thing about these deep and lonely hunting dogs and whether it's actually bred into them or is it created. And certainly if you're breeding to a dog to get hard, deep hunting dogs that was out of a dog that was created to be that way rather than genetically that way, then the result's going to be a lot different. So knowing the dogs on that pedigree, I guess, is the point we're trying to make here, Chris, is
right.
the important thing.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I can tell you that it's if you get a pre-potent stud dog or a pre-potent female, and I'm not going to pretend like I know how all that works, but my experience is it seems like, and I can say this because I don't own the dog anymore, and had nothing to do with his background or his breeding. All of that goes back to what breeders before we ever did, or before we ever had any interaction with him or experience with him. But that's big country. I mean, that dog is throwing long-legged, open tick dogs. You can tell what you can look. I get pictures from blue tick days or from coonhound events from guys and say, "Is this big country?" And it's a pup. It's a pup out of big country. It seems that he's able to mark pups with hunting style, conformation, and mouth, and even attitude out of a number of different lines within the blue tick breed. So he's even passing on his traits to walker crosses when they've done crossbreds with him on walkers, and you can definitely see him there, and you know how concentrated and how prepotent that walker breed is.
Well, the thing that I would do if I were and I'm not, and I'm sure the owners of Big Country know they have their plans and they know what they want to do with their dog, and I would never try to tell them what to do with that. But if I had a prepotent sire like that, I would do what Lloyd Brackett did. He was called the Mr. German Shepherd. Now I realize we're talking apples and oranges here, but what Mr. Brackett did to prove and to establish his line in which he could produce entire litters of champions, one right after the other. And the way he did that was he would select a sire like Big Country, and he would go out and find the very best daughters of him that were as much like him as he could find, and he bred those daughters back to the sire, and that's how he produced those phenomenal lines of dogs. Now, we realize that if you do that, then down the road you're going to have to outcross from that. But that's just the way that some of the breeders down through history established their lines and all. But man, I tell you, if I owned a hound like Big Country, I'd be looking for the best daughter out of him I could find that was the most like him that I could find, and that's where I'd start my breeding program. I wouldn't do that generation after generation, but I would sure do it one time.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even think about doing something like that. I think we get scared because, the papers come back inbred, and it just scares people, I think.
Well, that's right, and I think this may be a topic for another day, or it's going to be a long day today. But talking about breeding and papers and so forth, there is a trend. And I think you alluded to it earlier when you said that walker breeders are breeding to this Big Country dog, to breed away from the established purebred lines. And that has all kinds of possibilities, good and bad, in the overall scope of our hunting. I was thinking about that this morning, and I'll just touch on this lightly, but I think it's a good topic for another day. I'm likening coon hunting now and the breeds and the breed days and the days when there used to be huge crowds at the breed association days like Walker days or Black and Tan days and all. There was all of this breed loyalty, Black and Tan versus I spoke with Guy Ormiston in Oklahoma this week, and he was talking. I remembered back when he and a fella named John Wade in Texas started the Battle of the Breeds out in Oklahoma, the Walkers against the Blue Ticks. Right. And there used to be all that breed loyalty. And I liken it now to more like what has happened with NASCAR racing. NASCAR used to be Ford and Chevy or Dodge, Plymouth. Mopars against the GMs against the Fords, and you were loyal to one brand or the other, and it really didn't make a whole lot of difference who the drivers were, as long as, like me, I'm a Ford guy. I wanted to see a Ford win on first on race day, not the other one found on road dead that some people. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is now that's all gone away. Nobody pays much attention to the brand of vehicle that these NASCAR drivers. It's become more the personality, the Joey Logano or the Dale Earnhardt Jr. or whatever. So the brand loyalty has kind of gone away. And I think that's what's happening with our coonhounds. And we're seeing, not that we're seeing a great number yet of these crossbred or X-bred dogs, but I think we're going to see more. And I think that our hunters out west have already grasped that idea for many years of breeding, not paying much attention to the particular breed, but I think they are paying attention to the individual dogs that they're breeding to, and that's good. I also think of sled dog racing, up in Alaska or whatever, where they basically bred an Alaskan Husky now. That's a crossbred dog. He's not a Malamute. He's not a Siberian. He's not this. He's a crossbred, So I think that's probably what's happening with our dogs. But I think that would be an interesting topic maybe that we could take for another day.
Well, back in the day, early 80s when I remember going to my very first night hunts or coonhound competitions back in those days, and you had dozens of entries. I mean, even for some of the lesser known registries of today, but they always had a grade hunt in conjunction with that, and people hunted all sorts of dogs at those things, and the entries were. So, are we seeing this thing come full circle now, or what's your prediction on this, Steve?
Well, Chris, I don't think we've seen it yet. And the only thing that would make me doubt that that's going to go full circle and everybody's going to be hunting a crossbred dog is that the numbers of hunters, unfortunately, is decreasing overall. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to tell. And unless the crossbreds rise up in the registries, we won't know, really. And most of the guys that are hunting crossbred dogs around the country, especially big game hunters, are not participating in the registration process anyway. So it's kind of hard to predict, but I'm kind of thinking that if we can make it work through this podcast and everybody out there getting the message that we really have to preserve the hound sports, and we take this thing into the next generation and the next, we may see that trend toward a crossbred or X-bred. In the poodle dog world or the companion dog world, we went through all this with the registries, about how the designer dogs, the Labradoodles, your Pootick, as you mentioned in one of the other podcasts.
I haven't given up on that idea
yet. Okay. God bless you. Anyway,
bless his heart.
A young person today that goes out and maybe gets married or has a roommate and they decide they want to get a dog, they go down to the pound, and what do? They rescue a dog. And as one of the directors at AKC said when I was there, they get a gold star on their chest because they rescued this crossbred dog. And so that there's a lot of things working against the purebred dog. But thankfully in hounds, our dogs have had to be producers. They've had to be good physical specimens. They've had to be able to compete and hunt and endure the rigors of the hunt. And so we didn't have a lot of the problems that other purebred breeds have had, such as blindness and reproductive problems and hip dysplasia. And although Dr. Halada did mention the fact that we do have hip dysplasia in some of our breeds. Mm-hmm. But so I guess I'm rambling here, but no, I really don't see the crossbreds taking over, but I do see an insurgence, and dogs like the dog that we just talked about, Big Country, is going to play a part in putting a lot more of those crossbred dogs on the ground. I personally believe. This is not a stud ad for anybody's dog. He just happens to be a dog that's out there right now that people are talking about.
So would you hunt a crossbred dog?
I'm a purebred guy. I have been since the start. My dad was very much about breeding according to the plot standard. That's why when we occasionally produced a buckskin pup, my dad didn't breed them or use them in our breeding program because he believed in playing by the rules. And, there was so much talk about people that played loosely with the papers and say one thing and do something else. And I was raised to be, walk the line as far as registration. And then, of course, with my work for all those years,
right.
A registry is nothing but records. And if your records aren't accurate, then basically your product is worthless. So it would be hard for me to break away. But that said, I love a good dog, and I would certainly buy a good crossbred dog before I would buy a poor purebred dog.
That's an interesting statement. I put you on the spot with that, and I knew I would, because that was your business for so many years, is trying to figure out how to make sure that hunters are registrations is where the registries make a lot of their money, or a majority of their money. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. It's a three-legged stool, and I know that one of those legs seems about ready to fall off, and that's the publications aspect. But, a chicken and the egg start anywhere you want, but you raise a litter of puppies. You have to litter register them. Then you send those papers out to the new owners. And then if they want to keep that dog and participate and breed and show or hunt the dog in competition, they have to get it permanently registered. Then when the dog goes out and makes a name for itself and begins to enter the events and earns titles, then it gets advertised in the magazine, and then it gets bred to, and then the cycle starts all over again. But the money, the substance of any registry is in the registration of the dogs, and particularly the litters of dogs. That's the core. That's what has to be strong in order for all the rest of it to work.
Well, it sounds like we need to, certainly you can speak to this subject. You're a subject matter expert, for crying out loud, on this business, Steve. Whether you like it or not, you put so much passion into it for so many years, but it'd be fun to, we got to get Gingrich and Jerry Mall on here as well on the podcast.
Sure, absolutely. You bet. Because those guys are out there right now, front line, in these matters. And, I'm yesterday's news. So I'd be interested in getting those guys in here and pick their brains a little bit, and make them spill some of the company secrets and all that.
You think we could have them on together without a knife fight?
Oh, I'm sure. Those guys are great.
Yeah.
Those guys are great. Yeah.
I say that tongue in cheek. Jerry, I've worked with Jerry so many times on so many projects. He's super. And then Gingrich, he's a hoot. He came to one of our Tree Dog Alliance banquets and provided the entertainment for us, playing his guitar and singing. The guy's a talented guy, besides being instrumental in coonhound operations there at UKC. But yeah, he's a fun guy to have. We got to get him on here sooner rather than later.
Oh, absolutely. Both Jerry and Alan are top flight guys, and they got good stories to tell. And Jerry, he comes from those good old German roots down there in Hoosier land, and I think he and his wife both are from families of 13 kids. They're both the youngest of 13 kids, if you can imagine. That's amazing. But yeah, I worked, of course, closely with Jerry. He was a standout guy in PKC. And then when I went to to AKC, I asked him to come along, and he did a fantastic job there and is doing a great job with PKC. And then I met Alan Gingrich at a Beagle event back when we started the Beagle program at UKC, and he was down around Albion, Indiana there, and I met him, and always a sharp guy and young guy, as you say, funny, and I've enjoyed the relationship with Alan through the years as well. So yeah, we definitely have to make that happen.
Well, I'm not anywhere near being a golfer at all. Okay, usually my involvement with golf balls is pitching them out in the yard and shooting them with a .22 rifle. But we always get together at Blue Tick Days I've done it one time with Alan. He's a hoot, even on the golf course. We had a good time. So,
well, yeah, and always a good time with those guys for sure. You betcha.
I gave him plenty to laugh about. That's for sure with my golf game. So,
well, that's something that I've done over the years. But in my marketing career before I went to UKC, my boss kind of wanted me to socialize with clients on the golf course and around the tennis courts and around the bars at these conventions. And I said, well, man, you should have put all those things down in the application because I'm a lousy golfer. I can play a little bit of tennis and I don't drink, so I don't know how this is going to work.
Right.
But we managed to get by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, hey, let's transition over here, Steve. I think one of the things we wanted to do today was recognize some of the support we're getting out there. Definitely from our listeners. I can tell you that our listeners are engaging the podcast and doing a great job of downloading. We've got a lot of subscribers. Our social media pages are rocking and rolling and everything, but we still need people to get in those podcast apps and just leave us a rating, or if you got time, write a line or two on that. And getting a lot of feedback and a lot of good feedback on different episodes we're having and stuff. But one of the people that we have, I don't think we've mentioned on our podcast yet, who has stepped up and been very accommodating for us is Mark Zepp, and he's a buddy of yours.
Oh, yeah. Mark and I go back to, it's interesting. I was with UKC, and the American Redbone Coonhound Association was having their breed days out at Sedalia, Missouri. And I was there representing UKC. And at that event, here comes this tall guy with a very nice-looking young lady on his arm or thereabout. And
it's more like probably on his elbow, as tall as Mark is.
That's right. And anyway, that's where I met Mark Zepp. And he just happened to be out in Missouri, and that was the weekend that he interviewed with John Wick and Linda Wick. And as most hound people will know, Mark worked for Wick Outdoor Works for many years. He was more or less the face of the company out at the events. And, of course, Mark now, he went from when Wick closed the doors, he moved to the Tritronics Corporation, and then Tritronics became part of Garmin, and he's just moved right along with those companies. But Mark and I have been very close friends for a long time. And when he heard that we were going to venture out into this world of podcasting, he said, Steve, I want to be a part any way that you think I can help. And one of the ways that he's done that in our recent photo contest that we had, we offered to the prize winners a Zepp Lifetime Coon Squaller. And he makes a coon squaller. He calls it the Lifetime. It's the number one selling coon squaller in the whole country. It's, as the name implies, it has a lifetime warranty, and he says that it's used by, everybody across the spectrum of coon hunters. So yeah, the Mark Zepp is just a real quality guy, and anything that he puts his hand to or his name to, is going to be top quality. And just a shout out to Mark for once again being supportive of anything that's good for hounds people.
I played with that Zepp's coon squaller a little bit on the mountain lion hunt I just recently went on with a treed mountain lion. He was kind of sitting in a spot that wasn't real good for photos. We had a real limited access to where we could take a good picture of him, and got on that coon squaller and moved him in the tree a little bit so that we could get a little better picture. So, believe it or not, that coon squaller, I just happened to have it in my vest. I was wearing my my hunting vest with me, and had that squaller in my vest, and got on that thing and sang a little tune to it, and moved him around a little bit so where we could get a little better pictures of him. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, really. There's a lot of application. A lot of people don't realize this. Back years ago when the Timothy Ball coon squaller became popular, it was basically a predator call.
Right.
The Weems company, used it was a rabbit squealer or whatever you call them, and somebody got the idea that you could growl or flutter their tongue or whatever into the coon squatter. I get a lot of people call me about or contact me and say, I can't flutter my tongue. And I don't know who started that, because I don't flutter my tongue in a coon squaller either. I just growl into it. It's all back at the base of the throat, not on the tip of your tongue. But anyway, well, Mark's coon squallers, they've got replaceable reeds, and as I say, he gets a lifetime warranty, and he's really proud of the fact that they're made in the USA too. So, but anyway, again, a shout out to Mark.
I was on his website the other day. He's got some leather goods on there. He's got a clothing line that he just started with his Zeps coats. There's a lot for people to look at there.
For sure. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? You got anything else we need to cover today?
Chris, as I've said before, I think we've kind of shined the tree here. We've done this podcast by ourselves, although we did enlist a little help from Jason and Jess out there at W Hunting Supply. But it's been a good time, a good opportunity to visit with you and with our listeners. I'm looking forward to all that's coming down the pike. We're working on having some live podcasts from Autumn Oaks. Those of you out there that don't know what Autumn Oaks is, you couldn't be a coon hunter and not know what it is, but maybe for you bear and big game hunters and so forth, you may not know. But this is a gathering of coon hunting enthusiasts from all across the United States and Canada every year on Labor Day weekend. It's in Richmond, Indiana at the fairgrounds, the Wayne County Fairgrounds. I coined the term the event where history is made when I was at UKC and was privileged to manage the Autumn Oaks for about 16 years. But the guys, Alan and Todd and all those people at UKC have done a great job in taking my hand off and just running with it, with this event. And it's just a great time. And there's a huge vendor area. A lot of people come there for their supplies and so forth. So we'll be there, Houndsman XP, W Hunting Supply. We're going to be there, and we'll give you more details. And we hope to do some live podcasts while we're there. And so some of you that are listening to this may end up on the podcast. But
did we just commit for Buddy? Putting pressure on. We just putting some pressure on him.
I think so. I think he needs to be there. Don't you?
I do. I think he needs to. He could fly right in here to Cincinnati, and
that's
he'd
right.
be pretty close. He'd be close.
Well,
so.
I can vouch for the Chris Powell Uber service. It works great. Picked me up at Cincinnati, took me to Plot Days and back.
With a mashed up grill.
Harvested a little wildlife on the way.
On the way back.
On the way back.
Yeah, you said should we go back and see if the deer's dead? Well, you remember what my response was?
Well, I don't remember, but it was a negative response. I know that.
I probably shouldn't put it on the air, but it wasn't very pleasant. I can tell you that. Yeah, those dang things came streaking out of the ditch, and there wasn't any avoiding it. Right in the
man,
right in the grill.
the listeners should know that Chris sports this beautiful, nice, tricked out Chevy pickup 4x4, and he didn't cry, but I don't. He handled it pretty well, Chris.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, it was all good. So yeah, we can put if Buddy, can get on a bird out there and fly out to the Midwest, that'd be great.
Yeah, maybe we could get Jason to come out too. I'd talk to him about it a little bit, so I've about got him talked into it.
That's good. Well, mentioning Jason there, and I think we touched on it when he was on the phone there. That's going to be a tremendous addition to our podcast as we're able to kind of pick his brain from time to time about some of the issues that people, maybe not issues, but just little situations that pop up in the use of this equipment, because it's just like me trying to learn a new operating system on a laptop. Mm-hmm. And trying to build a website. There's a lot of questions that come along that I don't have answers to. Right. And so that's going to be a great addition.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Steve, we better wrap this one up, and I've got a couple appointments this afternoon, but I think it's been a good conversation. It's been pretty lighthearted and not so heavy today.
Well, Chris, it's good to do that every once in a while, take a little break and just kick back. It's like a website or a Facebook page that I started called Coon Hunting Conversations. And it just, you need that coffee shop time, that tailgate time, that time around the clubhouse tables with a good cup of coffee, just to talk dogs and talk coon and bear and cat hunting or whatever, and just, do what we love to do most. And that's when we're not hunting our dogs, we're talking about it.
No doubt. No doubt. So why don't you go ahead and sign us off, Steve?
Well, Chris, until I talk to you the next time, friend, you follow your hound and I'll follow mine.